In my conquest of chasing down the best and cheapest traditional or missionary style folders, I end up with another friction folder, the $15 Svord Peasant, bought in both the aluminum and synthetic handled versions, for reasons detailed in the last 45 minutes of the review. Now, a friction folder is a non-locking blade that's sort of like a non-locking slip joint but without a back spring. So let's look at the dimensions here. In parentheses, I've included the dimensions of the aluminum handled version if it differs. First up, the weight and length fully open. I'd like to give a shout out to Emmanuel B. and his 6-year-old son here. Blade length and cutting edge. He also said to give a shout out to the Michigan fans, so yeah, that's why I'm doing it. Handle size, grip area. Benjamin Poirier, and David Vanderstelt are two others. Spine thickness and handle thickness. So I guess that makes a total of 4 people who like this channel from Michigan. And the tallness and tang protrusion when closed. Yeah, it sticks out kind of far. The made in New Zealand Svord Peasant features a 3-inch-ish drop point blade made from Swedish 15N20 tool steel, which is used in bandsaws and is a co-steel in Damascus mashup rap battles of history. A video that would somehow make that channel more annoying. Yeah, I know, I have room to talk. It's a steel known as not very wear resistant, so you'll have to sharpen it more often, but it takes an easy edge. And it's tough, which means it won't break easily. You're like, oh, so I can pry with it. Cool. Yeah, exactly, idiot. Also, if you were paying attention in the dimensions part, the aluminum handled version has a thicker blade spine. Now, I don't know if this is an intentional between the models or just a, quote, peasant's variation in manufacturing. The blade has a long tang. When fully closed, it sticks out quite a bit. And when the knife is open, creates a slight bump on the handle spine, the top part up here. It hits somewhere in the middle of your hand. Now, since this is a friction folder, the combination between the interior of the handle on the blade, the downward force of cutting an object, and your grip on the handle keeping the tang from moving upward, closing, are the things keeping it open. The blade pivots on a brass screw on the polypropylene handled versions, so you can adjust the pivot and the ease of opening just by using a flathead screwdriver. However, on the aluminum handled versions, the handle and pivots are rivets, so they are not adjustable unless you have a rivet gun. You can open it awkwardly with one hand and close it with the same, although you need to be careful when closing it one-handed to avoid your finger hitting the blade, as you readjust to what amounts to 3 or 4 times when closing it. Using 2 hands saves significant time, but I get that if other people are around, an awkward one-handed closing of a knife looks way cooler and gets you more friends than a 2-handed closing. The plastic handled version is a bit harder to open or close. The handles, they are large and make the blade look smaller than it is. I mean, the blades are only about 3 inches, but the handles are long. The polypropylene handle is nice and comfortable. It's thick and there's not a lot of give in the center. It has a little bit of texture on it too, as to not make it super slick, but it's still a little smooth. Sounds like I'm selling a cigarette or a laxative. The aluminum handled version, however, well, it ain't for me. It's super thin and the handle bows inward as you grip it. I actually bought this one first and didn't like the handle much because it feels cheap, and the blade rubs on the aluminum when closed. So, which brings up something else, the rivet or the screw near the back of the handle on both models. The tip of the blade touches it, so close it slowly to avoid a deformed edge over time near the tip. It seems they could add a metal or plastic rivet sleeve over the screws and improve the flex near the back, and if it was plastic, well, it would save wear on the blade too. Now, to me, a pocket knife is a knife with a clip. I get that before Spyderco popularized the clip, most pocket knives didn't use them. I don't know, who cares? Well, this is more of a folding knife than a pocket knife. The tang does have a hole in it, so maybe, I don't know, figure out something with that, although I can't think of any non-pain-in-the-ass way offhand. The aluminum version is thin and would fit in your pocket a lot easier, though. The polypropylene has a much larger handle, so it may not be as pocket-friendly. But then I remember there's a company called Cold Steel, so fuck it. Comparison time, kids. Also, don't repeat that word I said earlier. First is the Svord Peasant. And yes, I keep recycling the same segment here for several videos. I'm going to use the plastic version most because it's my favorite of the two, and this would take forever to do both of them. It has a better hand feel than the aluminum handled versions. Both have that bump up top that may cause discomfort during heavy cutting. It doesn't bother me much, and it's not really sharp. It's nice and rounded, so it's at least as comfortable as an uncomfortable bump can be. The aluminum handled version, while not sharp on the underside, may not be comfortable for long-term cutting like the plastic one. There are also other versions of a metal handle, so I would assume a lot of them are very similar in construction. Okay, how about my other friction folder, the Higo No Kami, also a roughly finished piece, also made at a small factory by elves, or whatever. The handle has little to no flex compared to the aluminum handled Peasant, although the blade grind is uneven, which is, I guess, what you get for a handmade $25 knife. The edge on the Peasant is also not even, so fans of the Benchmade Bugout might not even notice. Hey-o! The Bugout is a very light and durable, and it's about $115, the most expensive knife here by far. I'm kind of kidding, the edge grind was fine on the Bugout. Strong lockup, better all-around knife personally, but not for the budget conscious. And for fans of the Crayola blue handle of the Bugout, the Peasant comes in all the colors of the rainbow. And now the Opinel 8, about $15 and it locks. I prefer the Opinel to the Peasant. However, the Opinel wood handle does get harder to open and close when wet, something I didn't bring up in my original review. But the synthetic outdoor handle fixes that, so if you use the Opinel in wet conditions often, buy that one. It's about 30 bucks. By the way, I have found my Duke. It was on my workbench in a drawer that I didn't look well enough in, for people who are following the Duke saga. I mean, it won't show up in this review, I just thought it was a cool story. Okay, we're done. If I had to really pick a $30 classic folder, it probably wouldn't be the Svord Peasant. There's nothing really wrong with it, I'm just not big on friction folders. However, it might make a good cheap camp blade that's light in the pack, or you can throw it in the camping kit for your car. It has a nice comfortable handle, and it doesn't seem to discolor quite as easy as the Opinel. But it's a blade you need to wipe down after use to keep from rusting or, getting gross. If you like this sort of video, subscribe to my outdoor gear review channel. Check out some of my older videos, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment. Thanks for watching. Especially you people in Michigan.